By 1966, the writing was on the wall for the British mods. By the time The Who had released My Generation, mod was having an identity crisis. The scene had been growing increasingly stale and commercialised. Led by the Beatles, middle-class youth gazed eastwards for mysticism and westwards for LSD. They promptly tuned in, turned on and dropped out. However, all was not well in the British Garden of Eden, and inevitably there was a backlash. The revolt was led by kids wearing boots and sporting crops, and was seen in mod circles as early as 1964. By 1967, they developed their own identity, adopted a new music, and gravitated towards the black working class communities of West Indian immigrants. The skinhead was born.
The whole skinhead style came out of black culture. It came out of West Indian rude boy culture. Not only the music, but the fashion, the look of it, everything about skinheads came from the West Indian rude boys in South London.
Today's image of the skinhead could not be further removed from the originators of the movement. The emphasis was on clothes, dancing, and their beloved music, Jamaican ska and rocksteady.
I've never seen skinhead as a racialist. I see skinhead as a culture, and you know, they're believed. And I've got no rights to, you know, determine or to prevent a person from believing into their culture and their belief. So I also know that if the skinhead will have a great part to play with the development of Jamaican music.
The skinhead scene was as big as the mod scene for that, if not even bigger. You know, everything had to be just right. You know, if you wore something that was a little bit, it'd have to be pretty good to get away with it, you know. Or be able to fight, you know, that'd probably help.
The skinhead movement evolved from the south and the east end of London's hard mods. Their tough, clean style was a reaction against the hippies and the bikers, known then as greasers.
When mods started to diversify, I mean, the great thing about the original youth culture is they were changing all the time. There was no set of rules. But nowadays people are trying to have an exact look, which it never was like that then. The looks, you had a fashionable look, but it changed all the time now. But as mod turned into hippies, then a group of London mods, known as the Suits, emerged in about the mid-60s, who were the first of this. They were like short-haired, they wore suits, which is what they were called suits, and they danced to ska.
The skinhead followed the mod, I believe, in fashion. The mods left a legacy. The mods really started the ball rolling with the blue beat music, the tonic suits, you know, the three-button shirts, all that sort of stuff, you know. And as they progressed, or as they evolved, I believe, into the skinhead movement.
Certainly the skinhead thing was strongly trying to identify back with the working class, a working class that was in decline, a working class that was having its feet cut away from it underneath it by economic situations.
For the first time, life on post-war London council estates saw a mixture of races and their incumbent cultures. Skinheads were the result of a fusion between white working class youth and young immigrant Jamaicans who called themselves rude boys, and brought with them new kinds of music and fashion.
This whole estate, 68, 69, was very much a skinhead estate. If people were perceived to be hippies, they would actually not get off at Kidbrook station, they would get off at Elton Willow and get back another way, because there was so much hippie bashing going on. By 69, most working class areas in Britain had huge skinhead gangs about. You know, if you were young and you're working class, you were a skinhead large.
One of the main reasons for being a skinhead at the time as well was the rejection of the hippie movement. The fact that greasers, one thing that really got me about them was they had swastika tattoos, you know, and you know, I always saw it as a very the skinhead movement then, as a very pro-British movement. All that was sort of good and clean and working class and down to earth British movement. Anybody who looked at this country and saw a load of hippies crashed out on the pavement smoking dope, it was a disgrace.
I think it originates from Jamaica because all the black boys start getting it smart. They like dressing smart and start going out. We call it short back inside at the time, red apart. The white boys used to say, what's happening to them, they're looking smart. So they start having the same haircut. They start getting the same suit, cutting it 3-button suit, 2-button, long bend, crombie, start looking smart, just like the black boys.
There's a myth that skinheads weren't so terribly elegant because, okay, you had your day-to-day wear, you had your football, you'd go out, if you went to football, you'd have your boots and braces and your scarf done up like that in the early days. But of an evening, everyone aspired to have a Prince of Wales check suit or a tonic suit or button-down Ben Sherman, top button undone always, maybe the sleeve rolled up just once. There was a lot of fashion rules then, but you'd have, later on it was brogues, and after that it was loafers. There was a lot of things, Ben Sherman shirts were the first, but the Brutus shirts were acceptable. After Levi reg tags, it would be the stay press trousers. There was a lot of fashion consciousness in skinheads.
In Birmingham, majority of the dances we'd go to, there would have been mixed congregation, black and white, and even black skinheads. We knew quite a few of them. We adopted a lot of their dress code. Very, very sharp Italian suits, tonics. The old boys used to wear the old pork pie hats and everything, and we adopted that way of dress.
You'd have your Levi 501s shrink to fit, but they never did shrink to fit. You buy them, 2 sizes too big, and take them home, and you'd run the bath water real hot, and go and sit in the bath with them on until it got cold. And then you'd come out, put them in the airing cupboard, and the next morning go and try them on. Of course, you're a bit slimmer then, so you wanted a good, snug-fitting pair of jeans. And then the next morning you'd try them on. You think, oh shit, no, they're still an inch too big. So how do you hold the things up? Well, it's either a belt, which, no, that didn't quite fit the image of belt, no. So braces. So it had to be braces.
He's very tight, very together. Nice shirt, nice jumper, denim jacket, trousers, boots, polished. A little bit of pride in what you've got.
I think that the 69 skinheads were sort of very linked to the West Indian community. They grew together, they were of the same age, and kids obviously followed each other's fashion. The boots and braces that were very working class Britain, and the sharp suits of the Jamaican immigrants combined, and I think it was the first time that the black and white was united.
People think we had hundreds of shirts and loads of suits, We didn't. We was 18 years old, weren't earning a lot of money, and 1 shirt a week if we was lucky, a few records. I mean, nowadays people have got massive record collections, but we didn't have massive, we bought what we could. A suit probably, paid for weekly, and shoes were quite expensive, so we didn't have tons of shoes. We bought a nice pair and they lasted, nice brogues that lasted, And they was quality clothes, really.
My definition of a skinhead, very smartly dressed, smart haircut, very smart appearance, definitely into the music, it would be soul and reggae orientated, and quite a good mixer, nothing, in your face, or it would be, even if, very smart, a very smart person, very dapper.
I think we didn't want to be like our parents. That's the thing that all kids say when they're growing up. People ask me about tattoos, and I say, we didn't have tattoos because all our dads had tattoos. No one wanted to be like their parents then, did they,
For the first time you've got a few bob in your pocket and you can afford it. I think that's where youth culture stems from. It isn't just that it's a product of consumerism. I think it's more a case of adolescents wanting to have their own identity, wanting to have something they can belong to.
Ska, rocksteady and reggae music were beginning to make their mark on the British music scene, thanks largely to the West Indian Rude Boys and the Skinhead faithful who adopted it as their own music. The big names in Skinhead reggae were Trojan and Chris Blackwell's Island Records, who'd long been supporting Jamaican music in the UK. They introduced artists like the Pioneers, the Upsetters, Dave Barker, Dennis Al Capone, Desmond Dekker and Blue Beat's Prince Buster. Dave and Ansel Collins stormed the charts with Double Barrel, Desmond Dekker with Israelites and Simmerit with Skinhead Moonstomp. The Rude Boys tended to be more into ska, the precursor of reggae that fused American R&B with Caribbean rhythms.
Luckily I had two older brothers who were going to the Twisted Wheel regular, and in the school holidays and that, if it's raining or whatever, it was great because I'll sit down with the old record player and play this brilliant soul music and a bit of reggae and that they had. So I grew up with that, like.
We'd go to blues parties and all. We'd have a few pints in a pub, and then we'd generally go off to a blues party, which would have been a West Indian party held at a house, and they'd put a sound system on, rock steady music, you know, till the early hours of the morning, and we just dance away and just have a laugh with the lads.
We grew up with Jamaican boys and they were wearing the same clothes as us. So obviously we listened to some of their parents' music, you know, ska and stuff like that.
If anybody's into rhythm and blues, you know, then this ska was just like that but rawer, and that's what I liked about it.
Roy Shirley was one of the first Jamaican artists to make the trip to the UK and perform before a British audience.
I've made up my mind to live in memory of those lonesome times. I can't stop wanting you, it's useless to say, so I just live my life and dream of yesterday.
Jimmy Cliff and Desmond Decker, Prince Buster, Dirk Morgan have a lot to do with you know, the establishment of ska throughout the world, because those singers were the singers at the first time that really received a chance through the British chart and things like that, you know.
With the reggae was the rhythm, you know. I mean, I got Skinhead Moon Stomp and I bought Titan Volume 2, and it was the rhythm and the beat, and that was it. Nothing to do with lyrics, because I couldn't understand half the lyrics because they're in Jamaican slang or whatever. Things like Wreck a Buddy or Them a Laugh and a Kiki. I mean, I hadn't a clue. Or even the Israelites. I hadn't got a clue what they were on about, but the beat and the rhythm. And then it also sounded like it was just made in one take. Every record to me sounded as if it was live in one take and raw, and this raw energy coming out. And the lyrics were always so soulfully sung at the time, you know.
With reggae and ska music, it's the sort of thing you could dance how you wanted to. It's not so much how you look dancing, it's how you feel when you're doing it.
Ska music, as ska reggae, as the same with soul music, it's got that terrific danceable beat, and it sounds brilliant. And even though it's, you know, 35 years old, you can listen to it today and it still sounds as fresh and as good today as it did then. And it was also something at the time that the mainstream people weren't listening to. You didn't want to listen to pop music or stuff like that on the radio.
The Skinhead will have a great part to play with the development of Jamaican music, because then artists like myself, we always have to give thanks to the Skinheads.
I am the magnificent. I'm back with the shaker of soul, boss, most thundering, storming, sound of soul. I am W-O-O-O, and I'm still here again.
Coming here and seeing the Skinheads, the way they dress and the way they really embrace the music so much, I never thought that people abroad would take the music so seriously.
They love the ska because they can move to it faster. They like to dance fast. They like to jump up, and the ska make you jump up, you know. Ska, 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 da 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 da. You know, they yeah, the movements. They can move more livelier to the ska because it's a livelier music. It's a jump up music.
A lot of those kids in the audience, they were the same as the band. the band were them and they were the band. It was like apart from the fact they could play and write songs, but you know, it was instant. That identification was total. They were living the same lifestyle. They were singing about their lifestyle. They were singing about. It was a lot of those kids went on to become very successful businessmen. Believe it or not, the ones that didn't go to jail.
To most people nowadays, Skinhead conjures up images of shaven-headed fascist thugs. Like most post-war youth cultures, it's true that violence played a part in the original skinhead scene, but times were tough, money was tight, and life on inner-city council estates was hard. The fighting was territorial and gang-related, and on the whole was not racially motivated.
If someone gets mugged in the street and the bloke's got short hair, he's a skinhead, and that's always been wrong to me. It's a completely different culture to that.
Without a doubt, today's press has certainly given the name skinhead this sort of racist connection, and really it's a fun style of music, and the images that came out of that were certainly rude boy and skinhead. And of course, you don't think of a rude boy as being racist, but the two of them were very united and they did exactly the same things, and they were the same people. They were very much together, and at the time, you know, I remembered thinking this is so great to be at, you know, somebody who's come all the way from the West Indies and playing their style of music, and all the kids growing up together, all liking it. It was a very united front, there's no doubt about it.
You wouldn't have any racism at any of original skinhead dudes. I'm talking proper original skinhead dudes. We're listening to their music. You know, if you was going to have an argument with a Jamaican, or it'd be an argument about something else. It wouldn't be related to that at all. Most of us have grown up with Jamaican kids, so that wouldn't come into it.
Skinheads had got a violent reputation, and rightly so, because skinheads like to fight. They like to go out on a Saturday night. Used to have about 10 pints, and you would, if it didn't end with a fight, people were disappointed. But it was nothing to do with race. They would fight anybody, and they did fight anybody. They fought everybody. They fought anyone who didn't look like a skinhead. Around here there was a lot of squaddy bashing for the Woolwich Barracks just down the road. Later on, nightclub bouncers, you go for them. Right, not me personally, but skinheads. But anyone who was different, really. It was a culture of violence, a culture of drinking, and very sexual, very boisterous, really.
It doesn't matter, you know, whether we'd been mods, skinheads, teddy boys, whatever. It was going to happen. That, you know, there was going to be trouble, no matter what we held to. And you know, you're young and you want excitement, and that was a big part of it, you know.
The violent side was sort of there in places you saw, like, you know, outbreaks of violence. And it was always quite puzzling for me what would actually unite them all. But I suppose that most people would fight over the most normalist thing, like girlfriends and people staring at their girlfriends.
The media tends to portray the skinhead, like say the World Cup's on, and there's been a fight, you know, and the paper will say, you know, shaven-headed skinhead yobs, thugs, hooligans, you know, and all this. And I'd look at the paper looking for a skinhead, you know, and all I would really see was a guy in shorts with a tattoo, you know, a tattoo, and a short haircut. I wouldn't see a guy there in a pair of staplers or a tonic suit, or you know, wearing a £500 Crombie.
The word skinhead appears in the paper, and yet again everyone's standing, oh my God, 6 foot Nazi, there he is, that's him. And you go, yeah. And in the end you go, yeah, that's me, yeah, I'm into that, yeah. If that's what they want to believe, they're going to believe it no matter what you do. So I know people who are into that sort of stuff who are not skinheads. And, you know, I know bikers who are into that sort of stuff. I know football supporters who are into that. Fine, everyone's into different stuff, whatever they are.
And I don't like to see swastikas. Swastikas are German, they're nothing to do with the British way of life. I have got a Union Jack tattooed on my chest and a bulldog, which I think stands for Britain. It's me being British. And I've got England tattooed on my chest. And that's all about being English. It's nothing about being, you know, a raving right-winger.
I mean, what trouble there was at times had nothing to do with race. It had nothing to do with the color of your skin or anything like that. You know, it was just caused through sheer excitement, which comes from joy. You know, joy of listening to the reggae music pounding and pounding and pounding.
I think skinheads have always suffered from the fact that it's never had an intellectual wing. There's never been anyone to make apologies for it. So because it was always a thoroughly working class thing, it was very easy to write off as a load of yobs, basically. And people have always said skinheads are, the general tabloid image of skinheads is thick fascist thugs, really, which is never been the case.
When you go to a club and you hear a good ska, rocksteady music, or northern soul, 60s soul music, Motown, you still get a tingle up your spine and you still feel good when you hear it, and it makes you feel good, and I love it.
So get in the groove, I'm on those feet, feel good, left and right, and east and west. Believe me, now.
Like all youth movements, the bubble must eventually burst and its followers move on. For skinheads, this happened in the mid-70s with the appearance of suede heads and smoothies. Both were initially an extension of basic skinhead fashion, but who gradually took over to become the main form of pre-punk youth culture.
Feel cool, oh.
Whilst this may have been true in London and the south of England, in the Midlands and the north, the 60s mod scene had developed along different lines. There they preferred the faster rhythms of Motown and other smaller record labels coming out of America. In the north, the mod scene never quite died. It just became northern soul.